Let's take our seats, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll resume with our session on e-government in the Arab world. We have a cavalcade of leaders in e-government from across the region, the hands-on commanders. Ali Al-Sama, the Director General of Saudi Arabia's Yasser e-government program, Yasser facilitating the Saudi nation's interface with government. Nabeel Al-Fayoumi, Chief Information Officer of the Government of Jordan. Nabeel runs the NITC, Jordan's National Information Technology Center. All the IT support for the government and now for the people too through e-government program implementations. Dr. Zakaria Ahmed Al-Hajja, Director of Policies and Government Process Reengineering of the E-Government Authority of Bahrain, steering the way forward for e-government in the Kingdom of Bahrain. Dr. Mohammed Al-Oqili, Director General of Information Technology for the Saudi Arabia Food and Drug Authority, the Saudi FDA, former General Manager for National IT Plans and Initiatives in the Saudi Arabia Communications and Information Technology Commission, also long experience in private enterprise. Dr. Mohammed Al-Oqili. Dr. Ahmed Samir El-Rafi, Head of the Policies and Programs Sector of the Egypt Ministry of State for Administrative Development of the Republic of Egypt, overseeing such things as Egypt's Family Card Project for subsidized food, the pension services, the big projects in social solidarity under Dr. Ahmed, and Rashid Anwar Kamal, Chief Information Officer of Syrian e-Government, the Executive Director of Syria's Government Portal, manager of the e-Syria project, the all-round go-to guy making e-government happen in Syria. Let's welcome our panelists, first of all. And let's also say hello to our moderator, Ramzi Zain. Who better to moderate than STS co-founder Ramzi Zain. Ramzi's company has undertaken e-government projects in Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and of course many here in Jordan. He knows all the challenges. He knows what's going to go wrong. He knows how to deal with it when it does, and he knows the right questions to ask. So ask some questions, Ramzi. Ramzi Zain, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Scott. I'd like to thank everybody for sticking around with us at this late hour, so much appreciated. As we all know, the internet started off in the mid-90s, and by the year 2000, it had really taken off around the world. Private sector companies like Yahoo, Amazon, eBay, they really changed the way that we do business, that we communicate, that we shop, that we play. And I think by the time that the turn of the century, governments started noticing the impact of the internet, and they thought that this would be an opportunity also for government to embrace the new technology in order to start offering citizens services, facilitating the way that they can interact with the citizens and make it easier for citizens to really deal with the government. We also had many initiatives in the Arab world. We know that Jordan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, most of the countries in the region also embraced the internet as a way for the government to also facilitate its work with the public. It has been challenging. There has been success stories. There has been challenges. There has been a few hiccups here and there, to say the least. But today, I think we have a panel of experts that can best answer some of our questions and give us a bit of a roadmap also where we are within this e-government initiatives and what is the future holds for us. So first of all, let me start with you, Mr. Ali. I know Saudi Arabia has had great successes in the e-government in certain areas. We know projects like Sadat, we know projects like e-Umrah, we know of other projects for the customs. Tell us more about what is going on in terms of the Yasser program that you are leading, and what are the challenges that you face within the government itself, sometimes employees used to the old way of doing things, and what kind of challenges are there out there for you to deal with government entities that want to connect up and change the way they do their business and the way they work?
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank His Excellency Marwan Juma for the kind invitation, and Intaj also for organizing such a great event, and for having all those kind of experts in one place. Jordan is being known as the home of ICT in the region, and we really count on the partnership with the Jordanian companies and working with so many government agencies in Saudi Arabia and helping us in implementing the e-government. So regarding your question about the challenges we are facing in implementing e-government in Saudi and how far did we go on that, the Saudi initiative for e-government started in 2005 by establishing a central office to coordinate and facilitate the implementation of e-government. As you know, that e-government is about consolidation and integrating the different silos of government together and making them appear like a single government in front of a customer to be served in a simple way. Trying to reach to the dream of the young generation, like Mr. Muhammad from UAE, who was saying that he would expect a faster process from government. That's what we are trying to do, bringing everybody together and making them integrate and provide a service, a centric service to our customer. So the role which YESR is trying to play, as you know, Saudi Arabia is a big country and we have more than 340 independent government agencies. So implementation cannot be central. So we decided that implementation will be decentral. We will have a shared vision. We will have a shared reusable component to be shared among the different government agencies, but the different vertical health, education, license will be built independently by different government agencies within a unified and standardized framework. So that's the way how we started. We built the national infrastructure. We built the horizontal component which cross the different government agencies, and we are helping the different vertical, different sector, different domain in building their application and re-engineering their services. The challenging we are facing, whatever you're going to hear from me, it's not going to be any change from any other countries. I've visited so many countries. I've attended so many events. Government challenges are all the same. So you're talking about resistance of change. You're talking about a slowness of digesting a new change. You're talking about a bureaucracy. You're talking about 30, 40 years of doing the same thing. You're talking about the work sometimes is not institutional, it's individual. One minister comes, he comes with a different way of doing things. He goes, another minister comes, another way of doing things. So more of people-oriented, not system-institute-oriented. And to be honest with you, this is my observation, personal observation. This is the Arabic world problems, that we need to be more institutional. We need to be more systematic, rather than, being followed by one person or one minister or one deputy minister or director general. He changed the system the way I want. That's one of the main challenges. How do we really overcome those challenges, and what kind of programs do we do to help? We start by looking to the things from business perspective, from strategy perspective. We try not to discuss the technological things when we visit a government agency from the beginning. We try to understand their business. We try to draw a picture so they can see themselves in that picture. This is why you are here, and this is the main service you are providing, and this is your customer. Let's look to the relationship, and let's look how can we improve that. Once we re-engineer the whole organization, we start identifying priorities, and we start try to create a champion on the ministry we work with. We try to make the minister himself involved. We try to make him head the change initiative with the ministry. We try to put and prioritize a small objective to be achieved at the beginning. Then after that, we create a momentum. We create a kind of a movement in the ministry. We draw a roadmap, then we let the ministry lead the implementation of that. So that's the way how we really overcome the challenges. We try to bring some incentives, recognition, by organizing some awards as you know, the driver in the business sector is money, profit. The driver in government sector is pleasing management. There is no driver. I mean, you have to create some incentive, recognition, make the support from the top so they can be recognized. He knows exactly who's implementing, who's not implementing, who's improving, who's not. So that's what kind of tricks we try to do to create that movement. Once you start, the balls start rolling, you start to see result, you measure, you show them the impact, then they start to have the belief, then they start to have the leadership and lead the initiative within the ministry.
Great. Thank you very much. Thank you for this insight. Dr. Nabeel, Jordan has been known for its ICT prowess and has been known for being a leader. And we've heard a lot about e-government since maybe the turn of the century. Some critics say that Jordan did not really live up to this promise in terms of the amount of hype that was given to the e-government, and that there is a lack of real initiatives and services that are out there today to use by the citizens. Can you please shed a light and maybe tell us some good news that things are coming finally soon?
Thank you, Ramzi. But I think this is not the question we agreed on. Anyway, I'll answer. Okay. Well, actually, let me go back in history because we started in 2000. And when we started talking about e-government program, at that point in time, we started the bottom-up approach. And that was the trend. Talking about infrastructure, laying down your infrastructure required to build the e-services. We started a change management program, and we were just following the international trend. Every country has a learning curve, and as I was talking to my colleagues, everybody passed through the same learning curve, and we've learned our lessons. We did a lot of work during the past 10 years. We laid down infrastructure across the government. We built 30% of the national broadband network. We worked on many back-end systems that were not visible to the citizens, to the businesses. And that's why I wouldn't blame them for,
You're saying that a lot of work has been done in the background to facilitate those services to come soon.
Exactly. Exactly. So we've built systems. We have the secure government network. We're running many of the government systems from a central data center. We have back-end integration across several entities. However, having said that, maybe that if we go back in time, that would not have been the best approach. So moving forward, we're shifting into a service-oriented approach where we go from top-down approach, where we identify the priorities, the services that we want to provide, engage our clients, our customers, the citizen, and the businesses, and include, even if you include simple, basic services from the beginning, informational services, just to engage the stakeholders and get the buy-in for the e-government, because e-government is not just a box that you switch on. So we were working as if we were preparing the infrastructure, preparing the people for the change, and the change will not be sudden. So now what we're doing is shifting towards engaging our clients by launching more and more services. Even if we start with informational services, we don't have to go directly and jump into fully transactional complete services. We can go informational, follow a gradual approach. Meanwhile, we will be changing the culture slowly during that time, getting people to understand the concept of e-government, getting used to e-services, and some of the challenges that my colleague Ali talked about, we faced ourselves. And from a political perspective, there's now an aggressive move to isolate implementation from policy so that we won't face the problem of leadership change and stuff like that.
We'll come back to that point.
Okay.
I want to go to Dr. Zakaria. Dr. Zakaria, we all heard, and we want to congratulate Bahrain for having been given by the United Nations the ranking of being the #1 country in e-government. So that's congratulations. I know that Bahrain has moved a long way from being the 42nd country in the world to the 13th in the world in 2 years. So there must have been some magic formula that you know of that we would like to hear about. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, there is no magic behind this. What is the philosophy of Bahrain when adopting the e-government initiative started at the early 90s. And the philosophy at that time was starting from bottom to up. So the organization which was responsible for e-government at that time, which was CIO, was focusing to build up the infrastructures and to provide the integration facilities across the back-end applications and systems. Till 2005, really, we found that back-end tightening, back-end infrastructures, doing such operation things will never finish. IBM, Microsoft, HP will never leave you alone to focus somewhere else. So we say here, we should stop, we should change our philosophy. And what we did, we work apart from that operational back-end, and we focus into major three elements: strategy, policy, and service delivery, which was really missing at that time. And this is the major element which make a really big shift for the philosophy of Bahrain toward adoption process for e-government. This is number one. Number two, there are a lot of factors, success factors, we can say, that make Bahrain in that positions. Most of these factors are well known. Political desire was number one, and commitment from high-level management was really a main driver toward having this achievement and accomplishment. And then we work as a one team, and we establish an individual entity which is totally independent from government, from CIO. So we have our own structures, our own strategy, and we have our own mandate, and to be apart from operations. Now we are working totally as strategy and policy operator, rather than to work in operations. And this is really my recommendation, and even what I have found in previous research, because I'm surviving on e-government at early 2000 when I did my PhD as on e-government, and I found really if you want to accomplish an e-government, success e-government initiative, you should have an independent authority that can focus on e-government. But just want to make it very concise and short here, especially I can see really very exhausted eyes in front of me at that time, which is almost 5:45. The tricky behind the success of e-government is mainly the dot. Dot? Yes, it's the dot. And I guess maybe the guys there at the back end, they may start. Why dot is the tricky behind the success of e-government?
Okay, so we'll play a short video. Please, can you have it?
ما بدأ بدوت تواصل أكثر فأكثر ليصبح أسلوب حياة. أتاح لنا جميعا إنجاز مهامنا اليومية بسهولة، لتجعل من حياتنا أكثر سهولة وراحة. والآن لدينا المزيد من الوقت لنعمل جميعا مع الحكومة والوزارات ومؤسسات القطاع الخاص جنبا إلى جنب لتطوير خدماتنا، حيث تم تطوير المزيد من القنوات وتوفير المزيد من الخدمات. والنتيجة تم إيجاد حكومة أقرب للمواطنين والمقيمين ورجال الأعمال والزوار، حكومة يمكنك الوصول إليها بسهولة، حكومة تعدك بغد أفضل وحياة أفضل. ولذلك فقد أصبحت مملكة البحرين الحكومة الإلكترونية الرائدة في المنطقة. لقد وعدت الحكومة الإلكترونية بتقديم أفضل الخدمات، وبأن تتحول البحرين إلى أرقى بلد في الشرق الأوسط، ولتكون المكان المفضل للزيارة أو الإقامة أو العمل أو حتى للقيام بعمل تجاري ما. واليوم تتبوأ البحرين مكانة ريادية، حيث تحتل المركز 13 عالميا والثالث آسيويا والأول على مستوى الشرق الأوسط. لدى الحكومة الإلكترونية حاليا 5 قنوات متنوعة متاحة للجمهور للحصول على الخدمات الحكومية. وسواء كنت ترغب في تجديد رخصة قيادتك أو الحصول على معلومات عن المشاريع الإسكانية أو دفع الأوامر الجنائية أو معادلة وتقويم المؤهلات العلمية أو حتى حجز موعد للفحص الطبي لما قبل العمل للعمال الأجانب، فلن يتعين عليك الذهاب بعيدا. وهنالك أكثر من قناة واحدة يمكنك التعامل من خلالها. فمثلا هنالك بوابة الحكومة الإلكترونية التي تعتبر محطة واحدة للحصول على المعلومات والوصول إلى الخدمات الحكومية على مدار الساعة أسبوعيا. عدد مرات زيارة الموقع أكثر من 21 مليون زيارة. عدد المعاملات التي تم إنجازها 182,146 معاملة. القيمة الإجمالية للمعاملات حوالي 12 مليون دينار بحريني. متوسط مدة الزيارة 6 دقائق و44 ثانية. عدد الصفحات التي تم تصفحها خلال شهر ما يزيد على نصف مليون. واليوم يمكنك إنجاز حوالي 145 خدمة إلكترونية عبر الإنترنت. وما العمل إذا لم يكن لديك جهاز كمبيوتر؟ تتيح لك قناة الهاتف النقال الوصول إلى الخدمات الحكومية وقتما تشاء وأينما تكون. واليوم هنالك حوالي 45 خدمة يمكنك إنجازها عبر بوابة الهاتف النقال. والأكثر من ذلك، فهنالك طريقة أخرى للحصول على المعلومات وعلى بعد مكالمة هاتفية، ألا وهي مركز الاتصال الوطني الذي يؤمن لك طريقة سهلة للحصول على المعلومات. وماذا لو لم يكن لديك هاتفا أو جهاز كمبيوتر؟ ما عليك سوى الذهاب إلى أي من مراكز الخدمات الإلكترونية العديدة. ولأولئك الذين يكونون في حالة حركة دائمة، فإن منصات الحكومة الإلكترونية تمثل لهم فرصة مثالية للوصول إلى الخدمات العامة. واستشرافا للمستقبل، فإننا نخطط لتقديم 55 خدمة إضافية بحلول نهاية عام 2010 على الموقع الإلكتروني bahrain.ph. كما نخطط كذلك لتقديم 10 خدمات إضافية عبر وبوابة الهاتف النقال والمزيد. عدد الخدمات على بوابة الهاتف النقال 45. عدد مراكز الخدمات الإلكترونية المتوفرة 15. عدد المنصات الإلكترونية 35. عدد الخدمات المتاحة على المنصات الإلكترونية 30. وعلى مدى السنوات 3 الماضية تمكنت الحكومة الإلكترونية من تحقيق الكثير من الإنجازات، فيما لا يزال الطريق طويلا لمواصلة المزيد والمزيد من الإنجازات. وتماشيا مع الرؤية الاقتصادية 2030 للمملكة، فإننا سنسعى جاهدين للمحافظة على مكانتنا وتطويرها كحكومة إلكترونية رائدة عالميا وإقليميا، لنسهل مهام الحياة اليومية أكثر فأكثر، ولننطلق بالبحرين نحو حياة أفضل. الحكومة الإلكترونية نحو حياة أفضل. What began as a dot has grown into a new way of life. It has simplified the way we go about our everyday tasks. It has made our lives easier and more convenient. Now, we have more time on our hands. We work together with the government, ministries and the private sector to integrate and improve our offering. The channels have been enhanced and enabled with more services. The result, a government that's more accessible to citizens, residents, businesses and visitors. A government you can reach. A government that's delivering on the promise of a better life. Naturally, Bahrain e-government has become the leading e-government in the region, as the number of awards and recognitions testify. the e-government promised to provide best-in-class services and transform Bahrain into the finest country in the GCC. To visit, live, work and do business, the e-government delivered. Today, Bahrain is 13th worldwide, number 3 in Asia, number 1 in the Middle East. And we now have 5 channels of choice through which people can access government services. Our portal, www.bahrain.bh, mobile gateway, e-service centres, e-government kiosks and the National Contact Centre. Whether you want to renew your driving licence, find information about housing schemes, pay a court order, validate or accredit a certificate, or simply fix a pre-employment health checkup appointment, you do not have to go far. There is more than one channel at your disposal that will change the way you go about your daily life. Take for example the National Portal, a 24/7 one-stop shop for information, and it gives you direct access to government services, simplifying the most common tasks in the process. Total number of hits, more than 21 million. Number of transactions, 182,146. Total value of transactions, 12 million dinars. Average time spent on site, 6 minutes 44 seconds. Number of pages viewed in a month, more than 500,000. Today, you can access about 145 e-services. And what if you are nowhere near a computer? The mobile channel allows services to be accessed anytime, anywhere. Today, about 45 services can be accessed via the mobile portal, with more to come soon. Another easy way to get information about our services is just a call away. The National Contact Centre provides a simple method to get all the information and assistance you need. And what if you don't have a phone or a computer? Just walk into one of the many e-service centres. For people on the move, the e-government kiosks present a perfect opportunity to access public services on the go. Looking ahead, we are firmly on target to deliver 55 more services by the end of 2010 on Bahrain.bh. Plans are also underway to provide 10 additional services via the mobile gateway and more. Number of services on mobile portal, planned 55, now 45. Number of e-service centres, planned 15, now 15. Number of kiosks, planned 35, now 35. Number of services on kiosks, planned 30, now 30. The e-government has achieved much over the last 3 years, but still a long way to go. Working in line with the country's Economic Vision 2030, we will strive to maintain and improve our position as a regional and global e-government leader, making everyday tasks easier, more convenient, taking Bahrain towards a better life. E-government towards a better life.
Reasons they were not able to function the English versions. I guess I don't want to commit long time. This has been taken.
Thank you very
give
much.
you very brief and exactly what I'm trying to say here in this stage.
Thank you very much. Let me move on to Mr. Muhammad. I know you've had a long business life. You worked in the private sector, you worked in education, and now you work in government. So you're probably the best qualified to answer the next question. The partnership between the public sector and the private sector, and what can we do to enhance this relationship so that it can really start giving results? How can the private sector play a role in e-government to enhance its speed and its efficiency and hopefully better results?
Good. I would like to thank first Jordan and His Excellency the Minister for organizing, and all the organizers for organizing such a wonderful event. I was hoping that we can talk on something more fun like mobile applications or content. Are we allowed to switch? Okay. Anyways, actually when I was offered the post of becoming an IT manager in Saudi Food and Drug Authority, I came to the building just wanting to tell my boss that thank you for the offer. This is kind of you, but I'm going to say no. And then when I entered the building and I saw how knowledge-driven and how complex is the IT and how big their ambitions and their intention going in this direction, and changed my mind, and I'm not regretting that that decision. The moral of the story is that I found ways to contribute to the industry, and by being in a sort of e-government position. What I would like to say is that our role in e-government project is just not building applications and automating services and making the life of users easy, which is actually our primary goal. But we can have a big influence in growing up the industry. We can be arrogant and refuse to work with private companies and say they're bad, and we can destroy them. We could treat them bad. We could switch. This is how bad it can get. We could switch a company every time you do, and you destroy everybody who works with you. So that's one of the not to do in the list. You could squeeze their margin, saying that you're proud of it. This company, and you effectively destroy the company, you destroy your service. So that's another one. And the last but not least, thinking of business models that are not, the usual subcontract ones, like the public-private partnership. You could allow your private sector company to run the business instead of you. They are usually much faster, much more efficient than us. We're the bad guys, by the way. I used to work in the private sector. When I go to a government, organization, those are the bad, the slow guys, and now I'm in this seat. So one of the examples we're doing in the Saudi Food and Drug Authority is we're trying to connect the pharmacies in all of Saudi Arabia to collect the data about the drugs being offered and trying to get intelligence out of it. And we're not going to do that ourselves. We're we're partnering with the company. It's going to do everything. We're just giving them the framework, and they're going to do it. So that's one example we're trying to achieve. Other than that, one thing I also notice is that what customers now get outside our IT department is much, much more influential and easier to use than what we offer. People are using their emails, using Google, using all of those things, and they don't need to use our service. So we're shrinking our activities to the minimum. And
one point that's been raised frequently about the partnership between private sector and public sector is that we've known that governments are sensitive to their information data. And that we've seen examples where if there was a partnership to the level of a certain BOT type of project, then government is usually not very receptive to the idea that the private sector could have access to the information that the government has. So how can we really have a partnership where BOT projects can come to life when we have this security issue always be? Is there any kind of way of tackling this problem?
Well, first I have to give credit to my colleague, Engineer Ali and his team. I think they have managed with the other people in the government to pass a framework and the legal foundation for PPP. So that is actually in place, and you're not breaking any laws by doing it. The other part is, you're right, the sensitivity of data is still an issue, and you have to work hard to convince your boss or whoever that this data is in a safe place, and you can actually do this PPP, and it's going to work well. And I think we are seeing more and more of that in the present.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, I'd like to turn our attention to Dr. Ahmed. Dr. Ahmed from Egypt. Egypt has had a long experience in IT. He's been a leader in IT in the Arab world. We've known IBM set up offices back in the 50s in Egypt, and we know that they've always been a leader. So one thing that comes to mind is that in order to have e-government or even e-commerce really being used, people want to feel secure. People want to feel that there's a law that can protect them. Can you tell us more about legislation and what's the role of legislation and law that needs to be done so that e-government can become a bit more of a secure way of doing transactions and people feel protected?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I would like to thank all the organizations done here to make this event successful. Coming back to your question, yes, legislation is very important to protect the users, the business, and the government. I'll give you some examples from Egypt for the needed laws to make this protection. In 1981, there is a presidential decree for establishing a computer and information center in each government entity. After 1 year, in 1982, there's another presidential decree for organizing the usage of computer equipment in the government entities. Now, in 1999, there is a presidential decree for establishing Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. From this point, we can make a real e-government in Egypt. In 2001, there is a Prime Minister decree for forming a committee for audit and validating data at the country level. In 2008, there is a Prime Minister decree for using an electronic archiving to exchange documents between ministers and the Prime Minister. Okay, this is the enforcement decree to not use a written document they are forced to use an electronic document through a protected and secured network. In 2009, there is a law for an electronic signature between government entities and citizens. In 2010, there is also a Prime Minister decree for using etenders.gov.eg. It's a portal for all government entities to put their tenders, auctions in this portal to make available to all suppliers and vendors. Okay. When I said it's in Jan at the beginning of this year, 2010. Number of users or governmental entities using this portal now is about 10% after 9 months from announcing this decree. Another decree or final decree is from Prime Minister in 2010 is for exchanging national data and services between government entities. In this decree, I will give you an example. It's a G2G environment. Before this decree, when a child joins a primary school at the first time, he was asked to submit his birth. His parents asked to submit his birth certificate. After this decree, no need for parents to submit the birth certificate for their child, since they are submitting the document in government schools. So just they have to say the date of birth, the name of the student or the name of the child, father's name, and that's enough. Okay, and through the G2G, they go to Ministry of Interior to get back the ID number and the exact birth date for this child. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. One question comes to mind, that when you have these decrees or laws that are protecting the people and trying to make it make a legal way of pursuing any problem, did you find that the court system really, also the judges, the people working within the court system, need to be educated, or did you form a special courts for electronic fraud or any kind of issues within the e-business, or did you, how did you deal with
All
that?
these people, so they have to be acquainted and educated with these new laws, because they are going to use these laws in the course and the coming life.
Finally, I would like to turn our attention to Syria. Now, I guess you have an advantage. You've seen all the mistakes. You haven't started the e-government in a big way yet. I know that there is many challenges about internet penetration, awareness in your country. Can you tell us more about what can the government do in order to attract people to start using the internet? What are programs are needed, and what are you doing in trying to learn from whatever else is being has already happened in other countries around you?
Thank you, Ramzi. As you know, we must work in parallel, because there is no one plan or one single way to tackle issues in different countries, especially in the Arab region. Because in the Arab region, what we managed to learn from our friends where they were ahead of us, that not the internet itself or online transaction or the penetration of the internet is the only problem, as they mentioned before. We know, as for Syria at least, that trust in the processes itself is the problem. That the people already, they don't trust the government with their own processes, you see, when they handle it by hand and by paper. By far, they would not trust really their processes, and they need electronically. Okay, we know that. We understand that, and we respect that. And if we do not work upon this issue, and we do not really respect that, we will not find a solution for it. Our solution is that it's rather funny solutions, but they are real.
Give us some examples, please.
We will start, and this is our secret hidden agenda, you see, with e-maktab mu'aqqab al-mu'amalat. That means I'm sorry, this is in Arabic, mu'aqqab al-mu'amalat, everybody knows that this is the office who will deal with the government on behalf of any citizen, business, or whatever. What they called, my friend in Dubai, they told me that they call it in Dubai PRO, which is Public Relation Office. We have more than 300 PRO office, okay, in Syria, and they are already trusted by citizens for 50, 100 years ago now. Okay, they trust them where they're any kind of muamale, which is a service, okay, to the government, and they deal with it and they get fees. Yes. Okay. The e-maktab mu'aqqab mu'amalat, those guys, we will work with them to enable them to do their job electronically. They will take benefit of the e-government first. You see, we will allow everybody to work with the e-government portal, definitely. But we know that people really trust those guys more than what they trust us. They don't need to know if he is doing his job paperly or electronically for now. They trust him. He can tackle with the government. He will give them the right result. The second approach, we will go to e-Mukhtar. You see. The e-Mukhtar, you know what Mukhtar means? Okay. It's to know that in Syria we have 10,000 Mukhtar. You see, Mukhtar, he is the smallest leadership in any village or city or even a street.
Yes.
Okay. With 10,000 of those guys, okay, I'm not saying that 10,000 Mukhtar is ready to work with the PC and stuff like this, otherwise I will be in Switzerland. You see? But at least I know that somebody in that village, he can hire, you see, and we can train them. Maybe his son, maybe his daughter, I don't know. Okay, we can train those guys to work on the behalf of the government to solve any citizen problem with the government and any services. Because also in the remote areas, the problem is not the penetration itself. If you have, they have a literacy, computer literacy, and even literacy itself. And at last, of course, we have the one window system, which we have more now 20 of them, okay, which you can deal all your stuff and business issues and even personal issue through the municipalities or stuff like this. We are trying to make more than 200 of them till now. Together, all those three solutions, we have also like local service centers, which the Computer Syrian Society have more than 100 of them. Those centers are very important because this is an NGO approach to serve the villages with certain offices work like they give them all kind of services, from photocopying to e-government services. Together we have the plan. If we reach together of all of those guys, like 11,000 specialized office, trusted from the public, trusted from the government, and they can give the good service for the citizen through the online itself, I think those will promote the e-government in Syria as the best as it can be. They are the best publicity we can get that we will deliver this time right, fast, and accurate.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. Congratulations. Yes, I love the way that you're dealing with this problem from a pragmatic point of view. You're not just copying what happened in Europe or Japan. You know your problems, you know how to solve them, and you're going about it in that way. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'd like to open the floor for questions, please. If anybody has any question would like to pose to any of our panelists. Please introduce yourself and the company you work for. Hello. Yeah.
Yeah, Ashraf Arfa from Cisco Systems. My question to Dr. Zakaria. First, the number and quality of services that you provide in Bahrain is impressive, so congratulations. So you said the way you've done it is that you've established an independent authority for e-government services. Can you share with us how was that? It seems that this authority was driving or imposing the services and automation on other government entities. So how was that happening? Was there resistance? Was there support? So can you share with us?
Thank you. In fact, such kind of independent authority is just looking at the mandates, 3 mandates actually, I do say, to set up the strategy and to look after delivering of services. Let's explain the problem. I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but the problem that which lead us to have such independent authority that we have operational entity, which is the CIO, which is looking after for the regulations plus the back-end operation side, which is totally. And at that time, CIO was handling the e-government strategy. And we found that technical people is not that much they can expect or to read the expectation from people. And they're not able even to develop policies. And we need kind of very flexible, scalable, and supportive entity can take the lead and drive the e-government, let's say, strategy initiatives. No way we can rely on technical people to deliver services or deliver strategy and policies and business process engineering and marketing and development and so many things. So we decided to have an independent authority which is supported and reporting directly to the cabinet office. It's there now. It is totally independent. There's focused, and that's it. If they don't have concentration and commitment toward making people's life much more easier, we're not able to handle the e-government. What we try to say here is to be much more close to people, to understand their expectations, to read their inspirations, to see what services they might need to be very close by. And this is not even happened by technical people. I mean, And this is exactly what the problem happened many times ago, in long time, when IT is taking the role of business. And this is which misunderstanding happened all the time still. MENA regions experiencing with this problem. IT is taking the role of business leaders. Business totally is away and apart from any IT project. So this is kind of gap. Really, it costs a lot of payoff for government. And we differentiate business from technicals, and this is the most success behind this.
Thank you. I'd like to put a question to the audience, and please, if you can vote. We have the machines for voting can accept 3 people to vote, and the question that we have is, how often do you actually use transactional online e-government services in your own country? I'd like to enter 1 if you use regularly, 2 if you use sometimes, and 3 if never used an e-government service. Just like to know how much of us are really actually using these e-government programs. Let's finish the voting. Just when they finish the voting. Okay. Because the result will come now. We'll see the result. Okay. So here's the judgment. We have 2/3 of the audience never used an e-government service. So this is really a question to be pondering about. The problems that we are facing today. Dr. Zakaria maybe had an input about how to maybe improve that number.
It is amazing.
66% have never used. So we are talking about here an audience.
I can say one thing here, and really I feel it during my last experience. You know, our people now is really educated and smart enough to compare private sector with public sector. Now I have a lot of e-services provided for people, especially from telecom, from e-commerce, from different private sectors. And they are now totally trying to compare the quality and the availability of services to the government. And let's be frank here, there is a stereotype that's coming from people saying government services always are poor. And the quality of services totally not efficient enough. And this is exactly the problem here. Everybody had that perceptions, and this is right perceptions to a certain extent. And this is the role of government now to change these perceptions to positive image instead of such negative image. And responsibilities relying to government. Please focus into quality. Please focus to efficiency to make such services available with quality and efficiency. Once you provide services through an electronic means, and when they try to access it and they find complication and limitation using that services, and they will never come back again. This is sure. And definitely will compare it with something else and say e-government is zero. Your investment by millions will be never having any valuable return.
So you're saying that if you want to launch an e-government service, make sure from the beginning that it's absolutely 100% good quality, and there has to be no risk, because the impression is already negative, and we need to make sure that we don't get that negative impression spread moreover.
Yes.
Mr. Ali?
Let's differentiate between equality and maturity. Do not try to push, this is the lesson there, do not try to push government agencies to the highest level of maturity of e-services. Because if you try to do that, it's going to be too difficult, and they will not see a quick result, and they will not believe in the whole thing. When we started the e-government in Saudi Arabia back in 2005, we were trying to push them to the extent to give us full-fledged integrated services. We will not take a query, we will not take a payment, we have to have everything. That was, because to reach that level, you're talking about organizational reform, administration reform, a complete reform of the culture, mindset, business process, legislation, skills of people. So I would really advise, especially those people who are just recently started, try to go on iteration. But yes, quality, if you provide in query services, it has to be in a certain quality. If it's an interactive service, it has to be in a quality service. But maturity is something else. I mean, you cannot And even the services in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, we reached 1,000 e-service today. The maturity varies, depend on the government agencies. If they are early starter, then the maturity is not that high. So let's differentiate between maturity and the quality of the e-services.
So you're suggesting a step-by-step approach and a quick win approach, sort of thing, to gain the trust and the belief in the e-government.
And the leadership in the ministry or the agency, they will see something that they, make them feel this is important, and they see the impact on the public.
So you need to see the government entity itself feel itself successful and get the credit, etc., etc. Excellent. One more question, please.
Hello. My name is Mohammed Khatib. I'm from Palestine, and I'm future Google employee. Okay. My question is whether e-government covers cross governments issues and services. I mean, like visa maybe or something else. I don't know if there is a proper term for that or anything has been done toward this issue, but I would like to hear what you have. Thanks.
So let me understand. Your question is whether the e-government is between government and government or between government and citizen. I think, Dr. Nabeel, can you shed a light? Or is it government to government or government to citizen or government to business, or is it all of it? When we talk about e-government today, what is the main factor there?
Okay, when we talk about e-government, we touch on three types: G to G, government to government, government to citizen, and government to businesses. Okay. So you have to balance across all three.
Any other questions?
The question is to Dr. Nabeel. First of all, how many 10 years we have in our life to have e-services available in Jordan? I mean, we are early starter, but we never reached to a stage that we, as a citizen, we could basically touch and feel the services. It's a bit pity, we started the initiative. We basically have a nice and creative idea, but we never get to result too close on that. Thank you.
Okay. Just to tell you that we are preparing the dot, but it's going to be a blue one very soon to launch many services, inshallah. I do agree with you. Sometimes it becomes very frustrating. We waited 10 years, but as I mentioned before, there's a lot of work that has been done, groundwork, and we are focusing more and more on services. We are involving Ministry of Public Sector Development to prioritize the services. We are handling things in the different approach so that we build the production line for launching relevant e-services. And that's what we're talking about. We were focusing on composite, complex, completely mature e-services. As Dr. Ali said, this is not the way to go. We're shifting back. We're revising our approach, and actually we're following a different way of looking at services and trying to launch those services that are most relevant, that hold a lot of value to the citizen. Inshallah, soon enough you will be seeing some of those services. I do not want to overpromise, but definitely we've looked back at the 10 years. The government looked at the experiences that we've had before, and there are so many measures that are being taken. I can mention a lot of them, whether legislative or structural or organizational, but we are dealing with this issue and we understand the frustration. It is valid, and hopefully by the end of the year you will see a few services that will hopefully change this image.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're getting a lot of signals about is a question there? Yes, please. Go ahead.
Hello?
Yes.
Sorry.
I know you're far, but we can hear you.
I'm Ahmed Al-Mashhadi. I'm Assistant Vice President at Arif Chandler, Singapore. Actually, Mr. Zakaria talked about impressions, and I want to share some frustration. Actually, I dealt with e-government on a number of occasions across most of the Arab countries. And I just noticed one thing. Each time I send them an inquiry, I never get a response back. So I think in terms of responsiveness, this is not a good measure. You know, each time I go and send them something, inquire for information, I never get anything back. So this makes me feel that this is not really the right portal. I might consider any other means. Thank you.
It's a comment, I guess, that he's not getting the service level that he was expecting. Mr. Ali, did you have something to say?
For this question, I think it's addressed to Dr. Zakaria.
I don't know if it's a question
but
or...
maybe, okay. I think what he's saying that every time he visits the e-services and try to ask for something, or he's not getting a reply or response, the right response from government.
So a customer complaint, basically.
Yeah, is there any way for monitoring that?
In Bahrain, I think.
The question is addressed to Bahrain?
Okay.
It's a generic.
Okay,
I think there's a general comment Mr. Ali wants to just say.
But let me very quick go to that. I think one of the measures that the Central E-Government Office should put, that they should monitor the response. I mean, there is something called escalation. If you open a ticket with a government agency, if they do not respond from the National E-Government Portal, if they do not respond in a certain time, that the request goes to the higher management until it reaches the minister. If you put such kind of system, I'll assure you that they will answer on time and they will make sure that they will get back to you.
Thank you. Bravo.
That's the related to your question. But leave me, I think we are about to reach the close to this session. I would like to leave a message here with, I see most of the audience here is a business sector and companies and system integration and implementers for the e-government project. So I would like to leave you with a message that we are in the e-government offices in the government side. We cannot do this journey alone. We need the private sector, and we need the private sector to play a major role. And to be honest with you, we prefer a regional company to help us in implementing e-government project. But the issue which we are experiencing with the relationship between government and the companies, that there are some issues really not making that relationship strong enough and making us focus on our challenges, because we have a lot of challenges in the government side we would like to do. We don't want to get burdened by the challenges of the private company who is partnering with us. So I would just like to mention some of the suggestions or comments that the companies, they should look to the e-government project in a different way. They are not, we are not looking for a technology. Someone give us a toys where we can buy the toy and play with it. I mean, we are looking for someone who really partner with us and make it a workable solution, make it a business solution. So we would really expect a more, let me say, involvement from the e-government implementer to look to the business side and try to think with us what's the right solution, address the government needs. So we are not looking for a box mover or, to buy a toys, then we experiment with them. The other issue which I've really absorbed or I've seen on the local or regional companies, the weakness of project management. Most of the projects I've seen, or at least experienced, they are, delayed, sometimes out of, exceed the budget. So strengthening the project management side will really work for both sides. The focus and attention, I see the companies trying to take as many as possible projects, but not really delivering quality and not focusing and paying attention. I think that, has to change in a way where we can strengthen the relationship. Sometimes over-promising, that you will do something, very impressive, then at the end of the day, you didn't get what they promised exactly. Sometimes we experience a kind of a one-man show. Salespeople comes, give you all that promise, then throw your person there, then the rest of the company focus on some other client. They didn't they didn't make you feel there is a culture, standard way of doing project behind that company. It is up to that project manager or person, a lead person, that they give it to you, that he play the project the way he wants. Some of the global international companies, you see sometimes culture, standards, way, methodological way of doing things. That one-man show or individual way of doing things has to disappear from companies in the region. The last thing, I would love to see a giant companies in the region here. I would love to see a big companies where they are able and capable to implement a mega project. Most of the companies is small to medium. I would really encourage more of mergers, establishing a big companies where they can serve the whole region. Those experiences can merge together and become, we still rely too much on the Western company and recently on the Far East company. I would really, love to see giant companies from the region, from the Middle East, where they can collect all those experiences together and provide them to different companies, because most of our problems are the same. So if you've done it in Jordan, you can bring in that wisdom and knowledge and experience to Saudi Arabia or to Bahrain. Those messages, I would like to leave them with you. So hopefully that will help in the relationship and strengthen the relationship between the government side and the private side, where we can implement a successful project and be proud of them in the rest of the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know that the problem is not only in government, but also the private sector. Thank you very much. I think we're running out of time, so I would like to thank the panelists. I'd like to thank everybody here, the organizers, Your Excellency. Thank you very much, and see you next time.